I want to start this video off with a couple hilarious studies. In the first one, people were given popcorn at a movie theater for free in different sized bags. Some people got a big bag and some people got a medium bag. And on average, the people who got the bigger bag ate 53% more popcorn. And what's funny about this is they didn't even like the popcorn. The researchers popped it 5 days before the study to make sure it was nice and stale. And the people complained about it tasting awful, yet if they were given a bigger bag of it, they ate more of it. And when those same people were asked the very question, do you think that you would have eaten less popcorn if you had received a smaller bag? Most responded something along the lines of, no, nah, things like that don't trick me. Well, of course, they were wrong. Or in another study, researchers offered people free soup and said that they could have as much as they wanted from the bowl that they were given. The catch? Well, the bowl had a tube connected to it so that it would slowly refill itself each time the person took a spoonful. The majority of the people never even realized that it was refilling, and even though they ate 73% more than the control group, they did not believe that they had consumed more, nor did they perceive themselves as more full than those eating from normal bowls. Okay, so what does all this have to do with habits? I don't know. I just thought those were pretty funny studies. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week. No, I'm just kidding. Let's talk about how that relates. The point is that we succumb to mindlessness all the time. We get pushed in the wrong direction, and that directly opposes our willpower to do what's best for ourselves, but it doesn't matter, because most of the time, we cannot overcome the temptation, and we continue on in that wrong direction. When you go to a mall or an airport, what usually has the bigger line? The Cinnabon or the salad shop? I mean, they're right next to each other. They both have equal opportunity to get customers. Why is the Cinnabon line always so long? Well, Cinnabon has a huge advantage with that classic, amazing, lovely cinnamony scent that you are immediately pulled towards them. And from this point on, you have to rely on your willpower, which can easily fail you. There's a perfect reason for this, and it's called the hot-cold empathy gap. In a cold state, when we're away from temptation, we do not appreciate how much our desires and behaviors will be altered when we are under the influence of arousal. Not that kind of arousal. Arousal, well, could be that kind of arousal. But basically anything that we are tempted to do that is not in the best interest for ourselves. And this is the same reason that common sense is not common action. We all know that we should exercise, sleep more, eat healthier, but does this make things easier to follow? Obviously not. Side note, did you know that your willpower is built on a limited fuel source? There was a study where researchers had people watch a funny movie and they were told that they could not laugh at all throughout the entire movie. But then another group watched the movie normally, and they could laugh and react to it however they wanted. And when both groups were given an impossible puzzle after the movie, the group that held in their laughter gave up first every single time. And this proves that no matter how unrelated self-control tasks are, they all tap into the same source. That isn't exactly needed to know for this video, but it's fascinating, is it not? I thought it was. The overall goal is to remove willpower and self-control from the equation. Get it out of there. We nudge our mindless momentum in the right direction instead. And this can be something as easy as removing exposure to the temptation. Simple and seemingly obvious, right? But like we said, common sense is not common action. Remove the ice cream from your site, remove bookmarks from your browser that distract you, disable those notifications that you don't even need, buy smaller plates so you actually aren't tempted to eat more, since you physically cannot squeeze more on the plate. That one's a weird one. I didn't think that one would work, but apparently there are studies that say that that works. You remove your exposure as much as possible. Now sometimes, I get it, it's not that easy, right? Like what if you wanted to stop watching TV? Well, we don't really want to remove the TV from our wall. That's a little excessive. So here we can use a 20-second rule. 20-second rule is the idea that we overcomplicate things to a simple task, adding 20 seconds to the process. So if we're watching TV, we can take the batteries out and place them in a cabinet across the room, away from the couch, or you can just hide the remote or whatever you please. And now when you get home, you plop down on the couch, you grab the remote to press the power button and you immediately realize there are now many more steps involved to watching TV, and we are discouraged from doing them. Add 20 seconds to your day and you gain 3 hours. No more 3 hours of watching Mandalorian, even though pretty good show. But The Mandalorian is not good for our motivation, is it now? And the obvious flip side answer to developing good habits in this way is to simplify the process. You want to learn how to play the guitar? Well, you don't put the guitar away in its case, zipped up in the closet. You place it out, ready to go in an area that you are a lot. Maybe right next to that couch that we were talking about. So now there's 5 seconds between you and playing that guitar, but 20 seconds between you and watching that TV. It's a small difference, but it's such an effective technique. Another way of reducing the willpower in the moment is when you set second order decisions. Essentially, you decide now what you will be doing later. In that cold state, when you don't have any of that temptation involved, you make the decision that's right for you. For example, let's say you wanted to work out in the morning. Well, don't make that decision to work out something that you decide in the morning when your bed feels like heaven on earth. The night before, you do as much as you can to make it the only option. Do things like decide what muscle group you're working out, or write out your workout schedule. Put your shoes by the bedside. Hell, you could even sleep in your gym clothes if you really needed. Essentially, you start the task before it's actually started, and you reduce the decisions in the moment to the absolute lowest possible. Now, sometimes the idea of removing willpower is actually completely impossible. Like, let's say that you're a parent and you want to eat less and lose weight, but you live with teenage boys. Well, they're probably going to be eating junk food and, basically any types of food all the time, and you're just supposed to ignore that constant temptation. Like we mentioned, willpower is a limited resource, so your odds really aren't stacking up for you with this situation. So what do you do? Well, this is a little tricky. I will be honest. But nonetheless, I've come up with a few ideas. One is to get others involved. So you simply tell your whole family or friends what you were trying to do, and that you would appreciate their support. And you give them full authorization to stop you when you fall into that temptation and your willpower fails you. So if we get back to the teenage boys example, make sure that your sons know that you were trying to lose weight and have them stop you if you reach for that Doritos bag as well. Still, this leaves room for error. The temptation is still there when nobody is around. Now, for some people, this won't be an issue, as they can just refrain from entering the kitchen and exposing themselves to all of that temptation. But for those who really struggle with kicking a bad habit, you go to the next step and you put something on the line. You make a deal with someone around you that really incentivizes you to complete a goal. So let's step away from the whole dieting thing. We've been using food a lot throughout this video. Let's use an example from the book Nudge. In the book, they mention a story where a professor helps a colleague finish his PhD dissertation. The colleague, let's call him Huey, continues to procrastinate writing his dissertation until one day the professor has had enough. He has an idea, and he says that Huey must write the professor a series of checks for $100 payable on the first day of each of the next few months. If Huey does not post a new chapter of the thesis online by midnight of each month, well, the professor can now cash the check. And on top of it, the professor would use the money to throw a party that Huey is not invited to. Now, do you think Huey missed a single chapter? Of course not. Okay, that's about it when it comes to changing basic habits. That's all I got, at least. If you liked what I had to say and you want to hear more, you can check out the books that inspired me to make this video. This week is actually the combination of 3 books, and these are Atomic Habits, Nudge, and The Happiness Advantage. And all 3 are super fascinating and informative books, not only for making yourself more motivated, but also just to learn about interesting stuff about humans and how we work and all that. They got a bunch of studies in there that are really cool. Link in the description. Check them out if you'd like. If you haven't already, I would really appreciate it if you could like the video. It does so much for me and my channel and my videos so that they can get promoted across YouTube. And if you are new and you like the content of this video, I would love it for you to subscribe. I will be making more videos like this one. As always, thank you for watching, and I will see you again very soon.